continues to be a test. Still testing. There should be a delay. 1, 2, 3. There should be a delay. It should be working now. Thank you everyone for your patience. I see that we're on. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Britton coming around to do the broadcast. Here she comes. The talent, the legend. Okay, guys. Hopefully everything is working as it is supposed to. All right, and I am unable to see who is here, so I'm going to have Claire let me know as people come in. Hi, Linda and Abraham. You guys can just hang out and get yourselves a beverage or your note-taking stuff or your iPads and phones and styluses if you want to color along with me. We'll wait a little bit until we get a good amount of people, and then I'll get started. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Erin. I'm going to twiddle my thumbs and wait for y'all to filter in. I'm so glad that you're here, Linda. We're going to be coloring this little cactus by Remco Bakker. He actually has a new book coming out soon. Spoilers. Full of really cool stuff. You guys are going to like that. And we're going to be talking all about light. I've done shadow or shading. We're going to talk about light sources and how to create light in your coloring. So let's see. Let me get a head count here. What do we got, Claire? Okay. If you guys have buddies, go ahead and let them know we are going live. Bring them in. We're going to do some fun stuff. I'm going to show you guys how to bring your pictures to life using light source and lighting techniques. I've got my coffee, my big, huge cup of coffee. See this? It's enormous. So that's how I get through my day. Tastes like energy. Okay, looks like we have a good amount of people here. And I'm not going to wait anymore. I'm going to get going here so that we don't lose too much time. Okay, so the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to slap in my base colors because that's just super, easy and a good way for me to get started. So please hold while I put in some base colors. And this just kind of helps me figure out where I want to go with my colors here. Dun, 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 dun. This is a custom palette I created. Custom palettes is such a cool feature. Love that. Okay, so super simple base colors. And I'm actually going to do the background to start with. I'm going to do it really dark. And the reason for that is I want to definitely accentuate the light so that you can see what we're doing. Okay, so hi, Destiny, Montgomery, Emma, Brittany, Jacqueline, Jane, Kevin. Wow. Good crowd. Good crowd. I will try to keep my mouth close to this mic because it's a weird mic. And if I move my mouth too far away, I kind of sound weird. So it's one of those fancy, like, radio mics. Okay. So light and shadow are two sides of the same coin. They both contribute to creating depth and dimension in your coloring, and they imply one another. So like whenever you add light, you by default create shadow, and wherever you add shadow, you suggest light. So they really work together. And if you don't have light and shadow in your colorings, what you end up with is this, which is cute, but flat. There's no real three-dimensional quality to it. And that's fine, but you can do better. I know you can do better because I have seen your guys' colorings in the gallery and they're amazing. So I'm going to show you a couple of tricks that you can use to add light. What type of pencil am I using and why is it black? Actually, I am using the Apple pencil, and I just have a black silicone cover on it to help me grip it. And yeah, I mean, any stylus will work. If you're super dexterous, you can do this with your fingers. If you can do this with your fingers, you are a personal hero because I can't do that. Okay. So yeah, without light and shadow, your colorings can look flat. And I want you guys to know ways to bring dimensionality and the illusion of depth to your colorings so they pop, they stand out, they leap off the page. And it's not as hard as you might think. So the very first step is to figure out where your light source is. You have to imagine it, right? Because there's not an actual light here. So you have to imagine that there is light coming in from somewhere. So I'm going to draw some lines to show that I'm going to be having a blue light source coming from that direction. And I'm also going to be having a sort of more diffuse light coming from kind of everywhere else. Let me increase the opacity there so you can see. So there's going to be a diffuse light, and then there's going to be the sharp blue light. This is not a free page. This is one of the pages that you can access as a paid user. There are lots and lots of fantastic free pages, though. And these techniques you can use on any of those. So you don't have to have the paid version in order to carry these techniques over and use them. Okay, so I've got my little cat here. I am working in advanced mode. Some people like to use it, some people don't. I like to use it because it helps me kind of save a little bit of time and keep things organized. And I'm in multi-select, meaning I can select multiple areas at one time, which is what I'm going to do. So I said I'm starting with this blue light over here. One thing that is important to keep in mind is that once you decide on which direction your light source is coming in from, and also what quality your light is, that is to say, is it direct light, or is it diffuse light, or is it a mixture of both? Once you decide that, then you can go ahead and start adding that light to your object. So I've got this blue direct light coming in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that color on the areas that are closest to that direct light. So anything that curves toward that light is going to catch that light. Anything that's further away is not going to catch that light. So I'm not going to be putting blue over here. I'm going to be putting it here because it's a very sharp, bright light. So watch what I do here. I'm going to zoom in. I am working with my airbrush tool. I'm going to do about a half setting there. And I'm going to put in this line of blue light. Like that. I'm going to put it down here too, because it's going to be catching there. And it will catch this little bit of her collar. Okay. I'm going to zoom out so you can see what I've done. And I'm going to take these little dots off so you can see. Already, you can see that light is touching her face there, or her little cactus face. That is direct light. It is sharp. It is cleanly defined. And it is different from diffuse light because it only touches a very small, very organized area. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show you is how to blend that light. You don't want to, well, you can, but I don't like to leave lines that are too sharp. So I'm going to take my green of my cactus here, select my parts again, and I'm just going to go lightly next to that blue line just to soften its edge just a bit. I want to leave it hard against the outer line here, but I want to soften and where it meets the green. Just like that. Click done so you can see. Now, where else would this blue light touch? It's a pretty sharp light, so it's probably going to hit her little paw here. It's going to hit the outline of her little paw. Hi guys. Let's see, I have a question. Would blue light on green skin just be blue, or is this an example? That's a really great question and something that I actually was going to address. So I'll go ahead and address it now since you asked. Light does not have to be yellow or white. Those are common colors for light, but not the only ones. If you've ever seen a stage show, you know that there are many different kinds of lights that can cast, right? Red and orange and blue and green. And so even if you're working with a color like green, you can add blue, you can add yellow, you can add purple. You can add any color you want, because the point is to differentiate between your basic color and the area that's hit by light. If your light is purple, rock on. You are going to have purple light, and that's totally okay, as long as it's clear that it's a different color and it is light. Okay, so let's see, what else would be touched by this blue light? I think probably her little hair flowers would be touched right on this edge here. Right here on this edge. A little bit there. There. And there. I'll take these dots away. They can be distracting. So you can see, right? That blue light is hitting some stuff there. Hi, everybody coming in. Okay, now what else? What else might be touched by that blue light? since it is so sharp, I'm thinking a little bit on her raised paw, right? Because it's close to the light source. Okay, let's see. Sandy says, I am a free user and I don't have airbrush. What else can I use for the soft light effect? Well, Sandy, let's talk about pencil, which is my absolute favorite tool to use and available to free users. You can do the very same thing. In fact, I'll delete that so that I can show you again. You can do the very same thing with pencil that you can do with airbrush. Okay, so I've got this area selected. I'm going to add that blue. And this is with pencil. You can see I've got my pencil on a pretty high brush size here and full opacity. And you can put that blue or whatever color in too, just like that, and blend it just as easily, sometimes better, with pencil. So you are not limited. You are not limited at all. And how do I know where light touches? Am I just imagining, or is there a rule? Sort of. Basic rules are if something curves out toward a light source or extends away from your main object, it's probably going to catch light. Things that fall away from your light source are not going to catch as much light, if any, right? So you're sort of thinking, well, my light source is coming from this direction over here. Of course, it's going to hit these things on this side pretty hard, right? It'll hit a little bit on her paw. I suspect that it would hit a little bit on her ear here. Okay. And it's going to hit on her bell. Whoops. I'll zoom in and do that. And it's okay to use the same color that you're using everywhere else here. So you've got blue light, use blue. Okay. Just like that. Already, your cactus, she's got some dimension, right? I mean, if you cover this up, you cover those ugly arrows up, you can see she's starting to take shape. You can tell there's a light source. You can tell that that light is blue. Okay? So, opacity, sure. Opacity just refers to how see-through a color is. So I'll demonstrate over in this area here. If your opacity is really, whoops, that's brush size. If your opacity is really low, look at that. You can barely see it, right? Compared to if your opacity is high, look how much brighter that is, right? So opacity determines how much color is distributed in an area, how see-through it is, how, well, opaque. Let me turn down the brightness just a little bit. Let me see here. Whoops. Or let me close the program entirely. Why not? Hopefully that helps a little bit. So you can see. Like that. You can't see the opacity sliders. I know. They're over here on this side. They're really hard to see with this camera lighting. But opacity sliders is the top slider here. And the slider here in the middle is your brush size. Okay. So hopefully that helps a little bit. I'll get back out to your cactus here. Okay. Now, let's talk about diffuse light. I'm sure you guys know the difference between a really bright light and a light that kind of just seems to come from everywhere, right? For example, sunlight is often diffuse because it's massive and it touches everything to some degree. That is a kind of light that is important in creating dimension as well. And how you use that, how you use diffuse light, will help actually not only define the area in which you're using the diffuse light, but it will also accentuate your sharper lights. So I know that I've got diffuse light in this image. I've decided that not only do I have these bright blue lights coming in from the side, but I also have ambient light, ambient diffuse light. And what that's going to do is take a bright color here. I'm going to use my bloom tool. You can use the bloom tool. You can use just regular. You don't have to have bloom in order to do this. You can recreate it in any way you want, but I'm going to use bloom because it's quick for me. And I'm just going to do this light spreading color from the center of her. Just like that. And this diffuse light just helps, whoops. Try that again. Just helps create the sense of roundness. Okay. Yeah, if you guys can't stay for the whole streaming, that's totally fine. This will be permanently recorded, so it'll be available to you at a later date if you want to go over it at your own pace or whatever. You know, it's the TiVo of Facebook here, so it's okay if you can't stay. I would like you to stay, but I totally understand that life interferes. So now let's talk a little bit more about light. I'm going to use, even though I have blue over here, I also know that I have this ambient light. Now I'm just going to use plain old light. And by that I mean a lighter version of my base color. Whoops, I'm still on bloom. I don't want to be on bloom. I want to be on airbrush. There we go. So this is kind of a terracotta color here. I've just made it a little brighter, and I'm going to come over here and add a little bit of light to this edge. And I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom part and the same thing to the top part. And what that does is it makes my pot look like it's a little bit dimensional. I have a YouTube channel, and it's actually Pigment's YouTube channel, and you can find all of my videos there. You can look things up on Facebook as well. So I've covered shading, and I've covered how to create your own palettes, all kinds of cool little tips and tricks. You can find those on YouTube. Okay, now let's talk about dun 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 reflected light. You are welcome, Michelle, anytime. Reflected light is what happens when light bounces off of the area or the object behind your primary object. So we're imagining that this secondary object is this, I don't know, curtain or table or whatever, right? This light is coming through and it's bouncing off of that, and it's coming back to hit your primary object. I hope you guys heard that because I moved my mouth away from the mic there. So what does that do? Well, it creates a tiny little bit of reflected light on the outside over here. Why is this important? Because you'll see now she's three-dimensional. She is obviously being lit kind of from all sides, right? With her blue light and her ambient light and her reflected light. Yeah. And that's a really cool trick for me getting my cords all tangled up. A really cool trick for creating the illusion of form. And that's really what light does. Light, you don't have a picture until you have light. You don't have an object until you have light. Light is the thing that allows you to see an object. It is the thing that defines a form. So your reflected light is helping you define your form. Okay? The rest of this is really just kind of playing around with blending. You don't have to blend. You can have your sharp lights and leave them sharp, and that's totally cool. I'm a big fan of blending. That's sort of my style. So what I would do is I would go in, find all these areas where I've got my blue light, and just kind of work them in subtly. Just like that. Go over here. Soften that up a little bit. I hope I'm not talking too quietly. How do you know where shadows go? Excellent question. Shadows are the flip side of light and vice versa. So where light is not touching is automatically your shadow. Now you can accentuate your shadow by using darker colors. Since I have kind of a medium cactus green here, let me find a good place to do a shadow. How about under her flower here, right? Get this. Just go in with your darker color. Anything that occludes, and that means just to cover up, anything that occludes is going to cast a shadow. Okay. So there will be a little bit of shadow there. Let me show you guys. So you can see that helps do what? It helps show that the flower itself is three-dimensional. The flower extends beyond her face. It has its own shape, right? Now let's see where her paw is covering her face here. There's probably going to be a little bit of shadow under there. Just a bit. Right? Because her paw is occluding there. Okay, Debbie says, when you're blending and working in those colors, how are you doing that? Was that just the blending tool? No, that is not the blending tool. All I am doing is I am varying my colors along my slider here. So if I'm working in the middle here, and that's my sort of base color, I know that many of my shadows are going to be toward the end of that slider, right? So we're going to do a little bit of underarm, underpaw shadow here, right? A little bit of shadow behind her bell here. This is kind of sloppy, but I'll clean it up later. This is just to show you kind of, and I know that this other end of the spectrum of that green here is going to be some of my highlights. So that would be good for these little, oops, let me turn that off for just a second. These little doodads, I don't know, spines, those are sticking out. So they're going to catch a little bit of light, right? And I want them to catch light with the light green there. So that's how I know. Is the technique for light the same technique for shine? That is a fantastic question. No, it is not. There is a difference between center light and highlight. And by center light, I mean the lights that we've put in here. Highlights, let me find a good spot for a highlight just for fun. Let's just say that her paw is catching some light, right? This is your center light, right? Your highlight is going to be much sharper, right? It's going to be that brightest spot that catches that pinpoint of light. Just like that. So there is a difference. Where did I learn all these terms like center light, highlight, direct light? I don't know. I really don't know. I think I just picked them up over the years. I have watched lots of videos. I have taken some art classes. I have read some books. There is so much information out there. The world is at your fingertips when it comes to educating yourself with regard to coloring or really anything. But it's all out there, guys. Go forth and discover. Seriously. The internet is an amazing tool for learning these techniques and the jargon that goes with them. Hi, Judy. Hi, Joe. So hopefully that made sense. The difference between your center light and your highlight, right? Your highlight is going to be your super bright little areas, and your center light is your more diffuse light. A lot of Californians in here. That's awesome. You know, I grew up in California. I was born and raised in California. So holla. Do people say that anymore? I'm so out of the loop. Okay. All right. So does anybody have any questions? Because I am so here to answer your questions. Like, that's my jam. I will answer them to the best of my ability. If you have any questions, I'm going to get rid of these ugly arrows. You guys already understand. Hey, Portland, what's up? Pacific Northwest. I was born and raised in California, but I lived in Seattle, and so yeah. Portland, Oregon, awesome place. Okay, so let me get rid of this whole ugly background situation. Oh, well, but not that way, because that's terrible. Okay. I'm going to use my fade tool and just black that out. There we go. Okay. So I wish I had like a side by side so you could see the beginning and the end result. But point being, adding those little bits of those little lines make a huge difference in your picture. Your picture's no longer flat. It has dimension. You can tell that it's got shape and form, and this is so simple. I mean, you're really just adding lines on the edges of things. Literally anyone can do this, and you guys are like extra amazing, so I know you guys can do this. Linda, even if you don't, it's okay, because it's going to be recorded, so it's there for posterity. So where else would we have shadow in this? Well, we'd have shadow on our pot here, right? Because it's being hidden from the light source. So I'm going to go in with my airbrush, put a little shadow over here. You guys ever sing to yourselves? I do that all the time. Okay. There we go. Even more dimension, right? And that took, what, 2 strokes? You guys got this. You totally got this. Let's do some highlights up here on these. I don't even know what they are. Thingies in the middle of the flower. That is the scientific term. So you put some highlights on your thingies in the middle of the flower. I've decided they're shiny, extra super shiny. So there you go. Hey guys coming in. I'm quick, yeah, because I do this all the time, but really it's way easier than you might think. I mean, You're just adding lines. And especially if you work in automatic mode, I cannot sell this to you enough. Automatic mode is the best thing ever. It helps so much in getting light down because it keeps you from coloring all over the place. Practice is absolutely the best way to get better. And not only that, but practice is fun, man. You're doing like a hobby. I mean, it's not like you're practicing, for the MBA or something where like, important stuff is on the line. Dude, you're just having fun. So definitely practice. Screw up. Make a million mistakes. I do. And just get better over time. That's how it works. Look at that. See? Screwed up just then. Did you see that? Lightning fast on the undo button there. Okay. Shouldn't there be shadow on the vase under the arm that's up a bit? You are 100% right. Yeah, because I have ambient light, right? So, oh, stop it. Okay. So, yeah, you're right, Marissa. Down here, we have this arm here, right? And we know we have ambient light coming in. So we know there's going to be a little bit of a shadow here. And mine will be ugly and yours will be amazing. But yeah, that arm is going to cast a little bit of a shadow. Like so, but you'll do better. Brilliant. See, you guys know this stuff. It's in your heads. That's the thing is in my experience, what I've found is people know more than they think they know. Your brain understands light and shadow. It's in there, man. It's been in there since birth. You are programmed to recognize those things just by default. So it's just a matter of trusting your brain. Trusting your brain. When you look at a picture and you've decided on a light source, you can go back on your entire life's experience of looking at stuff and knowing where light will fall and where shadows will fall. It's in there, man. It's in that noggin of yours. Trust yourself. Any more questions? I know, Kevin, the undo button is the best, right? Like, I don't even know where I would be without the undo button. I would just be crying somewhere in a corner, depressed, giving up on life. I probably hit the undo button so many times that it's just going to stop working. The blending tool is kind of a tricky tool to use. I will totally admit that. That being said, it's an amazing tool as well. So let me show you. Let me use the blender tool to show you. I've got this area over here I can work with. No, I don't want your arm. Yeah, just this. So let's say I want to soften up this blue light where it meets the green here. Take my blending tool and I'm just going to make a slow back and forth, up and down movement. And the trick with the blending tool is just to kind of take your time, really. I found that if I rush with the blending tool, I end up with colors I don't want. So move around a lot, change your perspective on your image. Don't be afraid. There is nothing that can't be covered up or undone. But yeah, the blending tool is definitely one of those tools that you want to really experiment with and find what works for you. See, like I've got this kind of grayish area here. That can happen. So I'm going to pull some of the brighter blue back into that. Can you hear my frustration? Turn on. There we go. It's tricky. I like the blending tool for a lot of different things. Although I've found, for me personally, that the blending tool is kind of like it works better in certain situations and less well in others. Your reflected light can be the same color as your primary light source, or it can be white or whatever. You make it whatever you want, really. The only function that reflected light serves is to define your form. And so if you want to make that blue, like in this case, you can. The best advice I can give people about that is test it out, make a copy of your work, go bananas on the spare copy, test something, see if it works for you. If it looks like trash, then just bin it and restart. Yeah, Debbie, I think I know what you mean. I do have a YouTube tutorial that covers the blending tool a little better, so that might help. But it's one of those tools that you really want to kind of mess around with until you get the result you want. It's a power user tool. No, not really. I mean, anybody can do it. Just takes a little practice. I'm not 100% there yet with it, but okay. Let's do some more highlights on my bell here. Oops, am I using? Oh no, I don't want to use that. There we go. I'm going to do a little reflected light on my bell there, and I'm also going to do a highlight on my bell, probably up here. Adorable pink cheeks. I know she does, huh? She totally needs pink cheeks. She really does. Let's use the bloom tool for that one. Let's see. I've got a pink here that might work. Oh, this one might work better. Let's test it out. Let's find out. Oh, crap. Nope, that's not what we want to do. Let me try that again. Oh, come on. Be my friend. Okay, advanced doesn't want to work with me right now, so we'll just have to wing it. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, she definitely looks happier, much more cheerful. I like that. Oh, Cheryl, did I miss your question, or did I not answer it correctly? So yeah, your reflected light can be really anything you want. You can do like blue here, like my light, or you can do white. Its only function is to help define a shape or a form. Just like that. Obviously, a million things could be done to this picture to make it just bananas cool. But hopefully that helps a little bit. Try it out on some different things. One thing to keep in mind is, yeah, Debbie, keep trying, girl. I know it's a tricky tool, but I'm telling you, there's some cool things that can be done with it. So stick with it. One thing to keep in mind with shape or form, which is my subject here, is things that are curved, round. those things, the light tends to be a little softer. You'll have a half tone, right? Which is a light area between your core shadow and your center light. So in simpler terms, you'll have a softer gradient. It won't be so sharp between light areas and dark areas. When you have something like, say, a cut crystal glass, you're going to have very sharp, defined light. There's not going to be a lot of blended areas. So keep that in mind when you're adding light. If you're working with softer curves, your light is probably going to want to be a little more blended or a little bit more gradient. Not 100% of the time. There are definitely styles, like I've seen a lot of anime stuff where you have sort of cell animation coloring, and those have sort of clear, defined, non-gradient lines and stuff. But I know we're running out of time. Oh, do you guys like my tattoos? Just got those the other day. If there are any more questions, now is the time. If you think of something at 10 o'clock at night and you wished you'd asked it, that's okay. You can still ask. You can ask me in gallery. You can just leave a comment on one of my pictures and I'll answer you. You can email me directly at britton@pixiteapps.com. You can post it on Facebook. You can leave a comment on a YouTube video. There's a billion ways you can get a hold of me if you have a question. Yeah, you can absolutely email me. Please do. I'll get Claire to type that into chat for you guys so you can see it. But I check my email every day, and if you have some crazy question or like something that you just can't figure out how to do in the app, please ping me because I can help most of the time. Most of the time I can help you out. No, you do not have to use both lights. You can use as many or as few lights as you want. If you just want one simple light source, like a sun, for example, if you just want a sun up here in the corner, to be your light, totally fine. You don't have to have several light sources. I used a couple in this picture because this is a demo. I wanted to show you the different kinds of light that you can use. So, Ash and Judy, thank you. Yeah, so Liz, you can use, like I said, as many light sources as you want. Okay, guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up. I'm so glad you all showed up. I love having your company. I love getting your questions. I love showing you little techniques because I know I'm going to go into gallery next week and I'm going to see this stuff and I'm going to be so proud of all of you. So thank you so much for coming, and we'll do another one of these next month. And in the meantime, I'll do another tutorial video, which is a pre-recorded one, and that'll go on YouTube, and you can look there for that. Thanks so much, guys. I had a great time. I hope you learned a couple things, and show me in gallery, ping me at Britton. I want to see. You guys are awesome. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, Denise, Kathy, Linda, Montgomery, Ash, Judy, Centeno, all you guys are here. It was awesome. See you guys later.